I think I'm gonna talk about something that is very boring, I'm sorry. But the first thing we need to know is how many of you are already in a project that may need to launch a token or may need some 1, 2, 3, okay. At least there will be a few people who will be not that bored about the presentation. The first thing I will say is that I'm a libertarian. I'm somebody who do not recognize the jurisdiction of any country or any court above us. I believe we own the countries do not own us. So in this view, what we have been trying to build is a way to really send to hell all kinds of bullshit regulations and try to stay out of jail. We have a case already. I'm here. Nobody else is here because they are all in jail already, but all the Mango guys are out of jail. Now we're really pulling our eyes and our hair between us, all of us, not because the law is putting us on jail. The guy who exploited Mango is in jail, so we were able to use somehow the law in our favor and to avoid the things that we did wrong and having a problem with the law and ended up in jail. So basically, the first thing we need to understand that the most important of all the rights that somebody have is the human rights. Everybody has the right for life, for roof over your head, for certain things. One of the universally recognized human rights is the freedom of association. So everybody should be able to make friends with no matter who, even if he's a different religion, a sanctioned country, I can be friends of a Cuban guy or a Syrian guy or a North Korean guy. That is above any problems of politics. So this is the most important thing I think we should be thinking of, because if a blockchain is above this human bullshit and this problem of the law, we also have to have some sort of argument to tell the policeman who comes, hey, you are talking to a North Korean. Well, he's my friend, what's the problem? As long as we're not killing somebody or launching some nuclear missile or doing something, we shouldn't be harassed by any government. Some countries have been brainwashing us for so many years already that we believe North Koreans are our enemies, Syrians are our enemies, Muslim, Buddhist, who knows who. And that is bullshit of politics, not something that we should be worried about. That is the problem. If we want to deal with organizations that live in the fiat world, we need to have some sort of, I'm talking about the second one first. Some sort of setup for them to understand that we exist. And if we do not register, there is a default registration from the governments. They will tell we are a general partnership or organized crime or mafia or whatever. Why this is the case? Because imagine we are the mafia and they get him and he's just the driver. They will blame on all the crimes that we all do into him to force him to speak and tell who's the Pope and who's the guy who the brain behind the crimes. Else he will have hundreds and hundreds of years in prison or death penalty or something bad. So if we don't have any kind of limited liability, which is the thing that in the law we say to the public, maybe the public doesn't read, but we will register a company and say, hey, this company has only 100 euros or $100 or $1 of capital. That means that all the money of the shareholders is protected. The only thing that the creditor can come and take is $100 or $1 of capital. The rest is yours. If you don't state that publicly to the world by registering it in some company registers somewhere, they will say, oh, you're doing business as your own, and you have all your assets as your capital. So if you do something wrong, we can go after all your assets. If we declare, oh, we only have $100, everybody who wants to do business with us knows that they can only believe or only give us $100 worth of credit. The rest is up to them. Because if we do something wrong, they can only get back $100, aggregated between all the creditors that we may have. So this is very important. This is the case of a DAO called AthensDAO. What happened, they also got exploited, and one guy hired a very creative lawyer in the USA, and the lawyer said, let's sue everyone. Imagine Mango. If Mango didn't have some very subtle legal tricks, any person who had one Mango token will be able to sue me. You had some tokens, you were a member of the DAO, I don't know, maybe others. That person can sue Dean, can sue anyone, because we were not registered. We were just a general partnership. We had other tricks, of course, that didn't happen. But in reality, we are all responsible for everything that that the DAO does, every member. So out of, I don't know, I will say responsibility, out of prudency, out of just being nice to the guys who are supporting you being members of your DAO, you should have some sort of limited liability against them. Else, I recommend you do not enter into any DAO, because if somebody in the DAO does something wrong, you will be blamed. Or you have the potential to be blamed. So that is super important. And well then, if we're gonna solve this, it is very important to know which is the right registration, because if we do wrong registration, if we register as a different thing, that will impose some limits, or that will impose some restrictions to what we do. This is super important. So it's not like an easy task. There is no one size fits all. I have seen a lot of DAOs and crypto projects following the Andreessen Horowitz paper about legal and have big problems because they say, oh, these guys are gods. They say, let's do it this way. We are going to do it this way. They are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. And at the end, they are having problems. Why? Because they just wrote a paper in an irresponsible way, because they are somebody admired by many, and these people are following their ideas. It's like if we read an article in a magazine and we give it like a fact, and it's not the case. So be very careful, because there are no one size fits all. Depends on what we want to do. Depends on what bullshit law we want to break, really. Let's say it openly, but what law is gonna impose some restrictions, and find a way to go around that law, because for me, I hope for you too, that law doesn't have jurisdiction on us. That law shouldn't apply to us, because we're trying to create a different way to organize between people. So that is very important. And if somebody says, oh, this is the solution, this is the holy grail on how to do DAOs, run away and tell somebody about it, because that's not the case. As I said, if you do not register, it defaults to a general partnership. General partnership, every partner, every member, every token holder is liable with his own assets on everything that they blame into the organization. Well, and there is something, I forgot one slide, that says that the ignorance of the law is not a defense. We cannot just land in the USA and say, oh, I didn't know that the Securities and Exchange Commission existed and the securities laws. They will tell, come to the small room, and to the small room they will take you to the bar room, because ignorance of the law is not an excuse of breaking the law. So this is very important. And as it says there, different jurisdictions understand crypto in different ways. They are competing against each other because they believe crypto bros are billionaires and they want to attract them, and they are giving carrots to the donkey here and there, and everyone is telling something. Really, it's also very important to be careful because there's a lot of conflict of interest. Regulators do not understand things. The regulators want to regulate, want to be the superpower of crypto, first in their own country, and probably compete against other countries and be the big shot everywhere in the world. And that's problematic. The most important thing for you is you will have to learn, you will have to read a lot. You will have to really, really be flexible. And if one jurisdiction was friendly today and tomorrow stops being friendly, you will have to have your bags packed and go somewhere else. Else, you will go to somewhere we know, the jail at the end. So flexibility is really the name of the game. And it's full of conflict of interests. As I say, Dubai wants to bring all the billionaires. But at the moment there's an issue, they say, oh, no, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. The regulations say, okay, you come in here just to spend money here. You cannot run your businesses from here. So be careful. There are many other places that are full of conflict of interests. It's very important to know that. And everybody's trying to sell you something. Nobody's trying to help you. They just want your money because they believe, oh, you launch a token, your valuation is $1 billion. I want half of it, or I want a part of this. It's up to you to decide what, with whom, which scammer you want to get scammed by, or how to really take the best of this, the best of this, the best of this, and combine something that makes you comfortable and to protect your DAO members or your token holders. And you have to do your own research. I think I should change and put do your own research in big letters, and the other is in small letters. Regulations are changing, and now they are going to change faster because since 20th of January, Donald Trump came into power. A lot of people quit. He kicked some others, and we don't know if it's going to be good or bad. Hopefully good. But we will have, this year is going to be very complicated because things are going to change. And I don't know if they are going to change for good or for bad, because a lot of people who's now in the Securities and Exchange Commission or in the CFTC, they know about crypto, and they know what we want to do with crypto. My recommendation is these three things. Keeps things simple, because you need to explain to auditors, you need to explain to lawyers who know nothing about it, you need to explain to criminal lawyers, maybe to FBI investigators, to a lot of people. So if you give a very simple explanation, he will understand. If it's a super complex thing, he will say, nah, you're bullshitting me, you go to jail. That's very important. Spread the risks. Don't have all your eggs in one basket. Maybe you have several jurisdictions. You have ways to really go somewhere else. Tell them, oh, this thing is not under this law because it's under that law. And you try to at least avoid and by confusion some people, and try to use open source software, because the software is, open source software doesn't necessarily is free for not paying, but in reality, at the bottom line, the coders didn't make any money. So at the end, we can avoid saying, oh, the underlying protocol is free. The intention was not to make any money. So I'm happy to pay 100% of the proceeds we made on something that made zero. That's part of our very big success with Mango. The CFTC is the ones who are the worst of all because they do understand. But Mango in the perps made like $10,000 profit. We say, we surrendered the $10,000. Here's your money, plus the fine, not jail. So that's one of the things that we can do, and open source software was the key on that. We just have two tools. Obviously, we're going to talk about this all today and tomorrow. You need to design the token well. The key of the Mango token was that at the end, whatever the DAO voted was not really binding to the devs. Because if you vote, hey, let's make this thing fly, let's go to Mars, let's do these impossible things, the devs will say, well, we don't know how to do it. So we don't have an obligation for something that is impossible. So there was one line in our terms and conditions that said we can veto everything. We can say, this is impossible. And that made Mango token not a security. And that made us be here, enjoying life, instead of be there, I don't know, enjoying what. And so it's very important to try to design the token in a way that has escape valves, or that really doesn't represent the threat, or is not a security, and you have a credible excuse saying, this is not a security because of this, period. And then organizational design is also very important. You may have offices in jurisdictions like Europe that are going to become very unfriendly to crypto, in the USA, in other places that are unfriendly, but you will say, no, this organization just develops software, or this organization just gives credit, does this, does that. The token side is done in that island in the middle of the Caribbean, or in Mars, or wherever the jurisdiction allows you to do that part of the business. That's it. I expect a lot of questions, please. And,
So if I am raising some pre-seed money for a crypto startup that will be doing markets and sports gambling and all this fun stuff, would you say I'm planning $500,000 raise, half of that for legal is what I'm thinking? Is that too little, too much, or do you think that's a good amount?
well, I think you can make all your raise 100% legal if you raise this money for software development for the moment. Mm-hmm. Later, if you're going to launch a token, or if you're going to give them a repayment, and you have to raise more money to give them the money, it's a matter of exactly what's your target market, what are you going to do. Maybe you just send membership to a club, and that's your NFT, or your token is a membership of a club. And, well, inside the club, people can do different things, or a union, or a cooperative. It depends exactly how you want to operate the software. Mm-hmm. But at the beginning, you can raise the money just by saying, you're giving me this money to code some open source software. Mm-hmm. If at the end your market doesn't go well for whatever reason, we have the different modules, we have the different libraries that we created that we can reuse somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And that's why it is valuable for the moment.
Okay. And then I guess kind of follow up on that open source thing, like the repo just happens to be public because I clicked that button when I left it. Should I keep it public and say it's open source until otherwise?
Yes, that's a very interesting trick. You can even say it's open source because it has the Apache license, the MIT license, the GPL license, even if the repo is not public. Mm-hmm. And when people say, oh, you're using the Apache license, and where's your code? We want to integrate on top of you. You can always give the excuse that everybody says, oh, I'm waiting for the audit.
Okay.
Once the audit is done, we will open it. Because if we open it now, maybe it's all, give me a minute. And you blame it on the auditors.
Okay, sweet, thank you.
Do you have specific examples of jurisdictions that you consider welcoming?
Well, depending of for what. I will give the example of Realms Today DAO. We set up in BVI, but because BVI Securities Commission already said some things very clearly, that Realms is an entity that helps other entities do ICOs. And it says with all the letters, the Securities Commission of BVI is not gonna regulate and is not over the entities that help other entities. So for that, that's an example. Cayman is also a good example. I will say several countries in Latin America right now, Argentina is a fantastic example. Depending exactly what you want to do is where you go. It's difficult to say, oh, this is good, this is good, this is good. If you have a token that evolves, that is gonna be something at the beginning, like semi-security, but then you can create some utility and really have it recognized as a utility token, and you have like $1 million and 2-3 years and patience, then you can go to Dubai, as an example. Maybe the USA will have something similar, like the safe harbor. You can start somehow and then evolve, and they will allow you to sell certain amount of money to certain number of token holders until something happens. That depends a lot on the design of the token and what you want to do with it. B-man.
Jose, thank you very much. Interesting topic. I love staying out of jail as long as possible. So I got a question about how long can you actually do stuff without any registration? So for instance, I'm working on PubKey, open source software, not taking anybody's money yet. When should I start bothering?
This is a very good question. Never. Don't worry. Because as long as you have enough ramp and you and your suppliers who want to have fiat payments allows you or allows a third party to pay on your behalf, you're okay. The big problem is when that is not possible anymore. Because of whatever reasons, Chris was saying, well, maybe a network state would like to have a social security and some health insurance for people. For that specific purpose, most probably, it will be difficult to pay on behalf of somebody else and this and that, or maybe taxes. Someday, one day, somebody will say, hey, you need to pay taxes. So maybe if you can avoid it's better, but it's a very fine line of avoiding being registered and be free and going straight to jail and losing all your assets. So as long as you can really have this fine line like in a big wall, because there's an entity that can pay your bills, because it's normally the problem, you will be okay.
Thank you. Yeah, for now I'm just doing it myself, but if I want to like start taking customer money or doing other stuff,
yes, or if you need to pay something, I don't know, for something, I don't know how much, how many airlines, how many hotels, how many supermarkets allow you to pay in crypto. Maybe you need a way of off-ramping, but that is like the only things that you will need to do if you need to interact with the real fiat world in somehow. If they take crypto, then avoid it.
thanks.
As always, amazing presentation. Thank you for that. And I also, I know Jose. I work with Jose. We're working together on Realms. I want to put things into context. There's no one on earth that has more understanding about these things. Mango DAO is the only DAO that has gone through an SEC court case. So if someone wants to start raising capital and issuing agreements and doing the things that PubKey would do when it's growing, right? Where it starts having millions of dollars and employees throughout the world. Is there a way people can work with you and safely set up a DAO and get registered? Absolutely.
In Realms, we provide that service. We help everyone design the plan, of course, with the potential flexibility, because maybe the plan has to change because some regulator changes the law or something happened. But in reality, if you contact the team of Realms, we can help you. The most important thing that we add is our own experience. I will have to say something in addition to just Mango. I'm one of the initial investors in literally the only real bank that banks crypto and had no problems with it during the bear market, the 2017 crisis, the closing of Silvergate and the Silicon Valley Bank. It's called BCB in the UK. We have a bank that banks Binance, banks Bitfinex, banks who will be bad guys or good guys, Kraken, Coinbase, everyone. So we have a little bit of experience there. I'm just the head of labs of BCB. I do the creative thing, but BCB is like 120 employees. Out of these 120, 100 are compliance officers and transaction monitoring, and only 20 people work to generate enough money to pay the salary of 120. Imagine, that's the problem. I'm also shareholder of a company called RIP in Hong Kong. RIP is, we do credit cards, crypto-secure credit cards. I'm a shareholder of a company in Switzerland called Script, that is a broker-dealer for crypto, a bank that is called Helvetische Bank, which is crypto-friendly only in Swiss francs. So I have experience. I'm just there. I buy a little bit of shares of that company just to see if they have better ideas, what they do, how they do it, and learn and integrate it into what we do in Realms. So I will say we have around 200 compliance officers, 200 minds between all the different companies. I don't know because RIP is crazy, but excluding RIP, we will have around, I don't know, 500 corporate clients. Including RIP, we will have like 10 million users. All of them trying to do crazy stuff, all of them getting in trouble, and when they get in trouble, we have to see and we have to stay out of trouble ourselves. So we find tricks on how to ignore or avoid whatever they do wrong that can be blamed on us. So we have a little bit of information, like the CIA, like we are spying on everybody with a license to spy because we're helping them and they have to tell us some things. And these we can apply to many different projects. Also, as long as you see me out of jail, then you can believe that we're doing something right, I hope.